Hello friends, I made this for. I hope you're having a beautiful Saturday. It is, Moon has moved into Capricorn, or did yesterday. So we're kind of worried about structure, things like that. Today, I feel like is a good day to talk about another major arcana card, specifically the Empress. So the reason why the Empress is because it is associated with Venus. This is associated with Libra specifically because Libra is ruled by Venus. So last week I talked about how Libra is this embodiment of justice, and I wanted to take a moment to kind of tap into the Empress since that's very much Libra associated as well. We're also going through some changes this next week astrologically. So we're going to be moving from what Venus is in right now to Scorpio on the 8th. So this upcoming week, we're seeing that shift in season already. It's crazy how quickly some of these planets move. Of course, Mercury is one that moves the most. And of course our moon is every 2.5 days, 3 days, whatever it is. So we're getting some shifts going on in this season. There's a lot of talk about Pluto because Pluto's doing some funny things in the sky. That's going to be very significant in 2020. So we're seeing some shifts there. Also seeing some shifts in Saturn. So there's a lot of movement astrologically. There's a lot of stuff that's going on. So specifically around Venus, I thought, why not make a video about Venus and its connection to Libra, but also Venus in connection to, or well, through the tarot. So like I did last time, I really like the idea of using tarot as a reflection of what is happening astrologically, and looking at multiple tarot decks kind of gives us an interesting look into multiple views of the same idea. So I have the same card in 3 different decks. You might recognize some of these. The Wild Unknown, very popular deck. Of course, the Smith-Waite deck, which is a very is like the old school deck, which is a great thing to reference. If you're looking at multiple card decks, I recommend always having one of these or one of the mini prints of it. There's tons of versions of this exact deck. So if you are just getting into tarot, make sure you definitely pick up this deck as a starting point for you and what you're doing. And of course, the, what is it called? The Fountain Tarot. So also very popular, very modern, these two, and very classic old school. So, Venus. Venus is a lot to unpack. A good word for Venus is unification. So, when we look at Venus in our chart, that might be a place where we can be like, okay, how do we interact with others? How are we working with community? Those sort of things. I think some people look at Venus as how we are in relationships. But that's kind of a narrow way of looking at Venus. Venus is about what's important to us. So what is significant, and Mars being how we act and how we move towards that goal, and Venus can really represent a lot of what our goals entail, what is important to us, and what are we doing in community, which is very Libra. Libra is about, like I said, justice last week, but it's also about how we relate to others. So one thing that I heard after I uploaded my video was Libra is not balanced. Libra is in search of balance. Libra's goal is to become balanced. Like, that's what Libra energy is. It's not like, oh, you're balanced, you have everything figured out. It's, know how are you focusing on finding that balance. So if you have Libra placements in your chart, that might be something to focus on. Or if your stuff is in Libra's house, if you have, I believe it's 7th house, I'm not very, that is associated with Libra, I believe, too. I didn't do my research, obviously. So that is, something to also keep in mind. Houses are just as important as signs and planets. So make sure to pay attention to that. That's something I'm learning on a personal level. So yeah, Libra is 7th because Virgo is 6th. Just had to kind of reference my own chart for a second. All my Capricorn placements are in Virgo's house. Hey! So that can be an important thing to connect with and kind of look at, is the shift from where Venus is at into the Scorpio energy. Of course, what follows up Libra is comes before Libra is Scorpio. So we're making that transition already for some of the planets in this season. So that's what's going on astrologically. But let's look at Venus through the tarot. So I'm going to start with, of course, the classic. This is the Empress card in the most classic version of decks. And of course, what do we see? Lo and behold, the symbol for Venus. And this is a very clear, concise, and beautiful deck. There's a lot to unpack here. A lot of people say the crown and all the stars in it really represent the signs of the zodiac. So kind of this idea of, once again, we're talking about community, holding up our community and being a voice, being someone who empowers those around them. And of course, when we talk about the Empress or any card in tarot that's very binary, that doesn't mean you can't look at the tarot non-binary in a non-binary way. And of course, we'll look at a card that really embodies that very well, as far as it's not just about divine feminine. And that's definitely an aspect of it when we're looking at the Empress energy, but it's more than that. Always. It's never just male or female. We're talking about a lot going on here. So we have her crown and all the stars in it. Of course, there is this idea of abundance with all this wheat at the bottom, this idea of harvest. There's also all the pomegranates on her dress. This is like the old school version. So the pomegranates are incredibly significant as far as abundance and coming into that fertility sort of idea. She's fertile, she's growing, she is pregnant with opportunities. She's not physically pregnant, but this idea that she is, she follows up the high priestess, and this idea of moving that feminine energy that is this it's associated with the moon, the high priestess, this idea of the intuitive self and this journey of the subconscious. And that's, I like to look at it as that spark of we are getting in tune with that energy of ourselves. To her, the Empress, or them, the Empress, that is about making that come to life. How are we literally harvesting this idea and making it real and juicy and just like pomegranates, something delicious. How are we moving into that? So, in the next card I want to share to kind of reflect on that idea of the subconscious and growing from that is the Fountain Tarot. This is the Empress in that, and we see her literally coming up from the waters. So almost this idea of she is this embodiment of the subconscious that has literally been like made real. It's not just a dream or a feeling or something a little more intangible. This is tangibility. So stepping into that place of what can we accomplish? What is something that we can just like really take and hold and feel and know is real? So that is kind of this idea of Venus, is like we're not just talking about it, we are planting seeds, we're reaping it. We're not just dreaming it, we're living it. Like, and making things fertile through connectivity, through how we move through our community. Community to me is like a big thing with Venus. How we connect with others, not just on a romantic level. Venus is not just like, oh, how are you, like getting along with other people? Oh, I just realized I'm over there too. Ha. Because that's a mirror over there, so you can kind of see. It's not just how we connect on a one-on-one. It's how we move what's valuable to us in the world, in our communities, and how we strive to help those. I know this might sound a little out there, but stick with me for a second. And last but not least, the Wild Unknown, of course, a super popular tarot and super modern. And I think a lot of that is because it is so non-binary. We're not being shown just like white women and their experience. We're actually seeing something so much more broad and tangible in a different way. So this is the Empress for the Wild Unknown. And it's a tree. It's like literally this growth and tangibility. But again, we have this like, we tapped into our subconscious to get here. We dreamed it. So it's not totally without that connection. It's here. There's the moon. We went from one to the next. It's pretty cool, right? So this idea of like the fertility of our ideas, our goals, and how we connect with others is very much here. Because what is a tree but this big being that talks through its roots? It supports life through allowing, through creatures living in it, with it, on it, through it. Like a tree is a powerful metaphor for this, or not even a metaphor, for this idea of the Empress, because it speaks to more than just like I said, this feminine experience. It's so much more than that. This is a strong and like well-developed being. This is a strong, healthy tree that is giving up that warmth in this subconscious plane. So I feel like that might be a little too heady as far as how to describe Venus. But when we look at Venus through the lens of this is unification, and then we kind of connect that to justice and how are we pursuing justice and balancing what is good, the light and dark. I want to say good and evil, but light and dark in the world, which is very Libra, and looking at Libra again through this lens of what is Venus, we kind of get this idea, and of course this kind of comes back to this idea of enjoying what is beautiful. Like this is a tree as beautiful, like point blank period. And this idea of harvesting really being present in there too. Again, I feel like for whatever reason, I'm a little like heady today in my explanations, but yeah, I think that is really a good way to kind of, if you're doing any work around astrology and what's going on right now, I definitely would connect some with Venus as she makes that shift from being in Libra to in Scorpio, because we got, you know, more dealing in the subconscious. You know what I mean? So very Scorpio. So yeah. Though that is like, yeah, that's something to just connect with. And of course, if we're trying to connect with, you know, our own energies of Venus within our chart, I would definitely take out your Empress card from your deck and just like meditate with it, look at it, and take a whole dive through it. A good practice is like, if you are wanting to connect with this energy, to really just spend time with it. It really is like a powerful way to make that connection with these energies, because we got a lot going on astrologically, and tarot is a great mirror for that. But anyway, I'll stop rambling because obviously it's going that way. I hope this moon in Capricorn is treating you well. You're getting lots of work done. We're halfway there to the full moon. She's coming up soon. So anyway, have a beautiful day, lovelies. Bye.